you can't just be a writer. I'm not a definitive writer. Like, I like being by myself. I like hanging out, kind of low-key. Like, really not a, crowd person.
Well, why do you write? Because millions read writing.
Yeah, but I don't have to, I'm not there while they're doing it. Like, reading's a very solitary act. Like, people sit around by themselves and they read. I'm not there. I mean, I am there because I'm on the page. But Toni Morrison called Dancing Minds with the interaction between the writer and the reader. So I'm there, but I'm not, let's put it this way, I'm socially awkward, but at least I know it.
Neighborhood kids traded slurs, threats, and you stink. School was just a place for organized abuse, where being good at words, or even playing the triangle and tambourine, made me a rotten egghead. Isn't that the way? Most of the yolk brains grew up to die young, or rot the rest of their minds at any rate, sentenced to prison or drugs, or long-term welfare if they didn't get a certificate from OIC and electronics or something.
Can you hold up the book? When was it published? A little higher, a little higher.
January 2009.
January 2009?
Yes.
This is your first publication?
Yes, for my first full book.
How did it get published? I mean, I know that you've done a lot of work.
How it went was when I was hanging out in this group of poets at a cafe. Then Doug Holder, who is the publisher, said, so you know about Ibbotson Street, meaning the journal. And I said, yes. He says, well, why don't you send us some poems? And I'm like, okay. So I sent him some poems, and he passed them on to the poetry editor. But there was one, which is in this book, which is the one that was, the time of the poem is about 5 different time periods as I was growing up. But one of those is when the National Guard was called in to stop the race riots that occurred when the forced busing started. So they were like little black kids from Roxbury and other areas going into South Boston. So that, he read that, and it's a big, long, like 5-section poem. And he read that. And so the other ones were passed on, and one of them was published in the journal. But he read that poem. He's like, you got anything else like this, like on the experience of growing up in a certain area and at a certain time period? I'm like, well, that's kind of what I write about, is Boston. And there are different aspects of being, a multicultural personality, that there are all these things going on around you, and you're just sort of absorbing them as an artist who has, first of all, I grew up with, Irish friends, and as well as black kids. And just growing up like that is in that time period is kind of weird. So about a year ago, I'm in Brooklyn, dressed for a rock show at a joint actually named Trash Bar, when we stopped for a bite. Never been to New York before, and want to go to a deli mainly because you can't even get turkey on rye after 4 p.m. in Boston. A club sandwich and a beer too? Love the sound of that. But I get overruled. Dragged instead to a frou-frou burger place with jazz and white Christmas lights, but also bars instead of actual tables. So I have to balance there. With a purple afro, black fingernails and Levi's, with a jangling silver chain belt and break-my-neck-inch platform sandals. So I watch the Banana Republic regulars eating black bean burgers with piles of fuzzy grass called frisee from their little monkey perches. Meanwhile, my heart-shaped butt longs for an authentic Naugahyde booth. Oh yeah, high class, my ass. Gone Girl. When the worst times hit, I'd dream about the music until I got home. Put the needle on the scratched-up vinyl of albums stashed under the bed. Just like the kid in Almost Famous, who grows up to be a writer. I hit him, 'cause raised right black girls with grandmothers, aunts, cousins, all being teachers, social workers, librarians, and other credits to the race, etc., etc., etc. Well, Girls like me were not permitted to listen to long-haired, freaky white boy rockers. I was born to be a bookworm. Half my life's in books, written pages. Live and learn from fools and from sages. My name is Mignon Ariel King, and I'm a Boston poet.
It's so silly.